Is water wet?
Go in front of the camera first off. You guys got to answer it together.
No.
It makes
water.
things wet.
Yep, water makes things wet. It isn't wet.
Come here. Yeah, come here. Come have a
really
conversation with me. I'm claiming it's wet. It's not wet.
Scoot over.
But if a dry thing touches you, you stay dry. So if it's not wet and if it's dry, you're saying
Yeah, but
it's
if
dry.
you're holding water, the water's not wet, but you can be wet because the water's making you wet.
Right, but if you were holding a dry object, does it make you dry?
No, but it's not giving you something to make you wet.
Right, but then how is water not wet if it's making you wet? If it was dry, you would stay dry. Water's wet. I win. Let me ask the swim coach. Hang on. Andrew, is water wet?
Swim coach says it's not.
Is water wet? That's a pretty good question, honestly. Let me ask you this. When you first get out of the shower, what are you? Dry or wet?
Wet.
If we do the mathematical equation, it lines up. Water is wet. You heard it here first, guys. Boiler up, baby.
Water is wet.
Not one for politics.
I don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is too political for me.
Probably not. When water touches stuff, it gets wet.
Yeah, water's wet. You have to be wet to get wet.
Damn, that's kind of
Yeah.
No, she made a good point. Like, was water wet before it gets on my shirt?
Yeah, because how could it make it wet?
Let me chew on.
You gotta be wet to get wet.
No.
I don't know. I'd probably say maybe. There's a good possibility.
Tell
Yes.
me why.
Water's polar, so like dissolves like, so polar dissolves polar, so that's why water, if it touches water, it doesn't make it wet because they dissolve each other. But if it's a non-polar object like you and your skin, you're non-polar, your skin's non-polar, so obviously it's not going to be able to dissolve with it, and it's not, because like does not dissolve dislike, which polar and non-polar, so it will make you wet because it beads up and it cannot dissolve into you.
She's eating.
I think water is wet
Why?
because together it makes it wet anyway. I would say no. I don't know. I feel like wet is like a byproduct of water.
It is. It's a liquid, so it's wet.
Yes, water is wet.
Water is not wet because water is water. Yes, water is wet.
No, water is not wet itself. I don't know. I wouldn't just look at water and be like, oh, that's wet.
Yeah, I would say water's wet.
Water is wet because it's water. It's like, it's clear, it's moisture. That's all.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I say yeah because actually no, it makes things wet. It's not wet.
Water's not wet, it makes things wet.
Yes. Because I'm a science teacher.
Okay, so water is not wet because water makes things wet. So it's like saying like, is fire like burnt? Fire isn't burnt. Fire is fire. So.
Yeah, because you're wet.
I do think a straw has two holes, not one.
Yes, it is wet because it's liquidy.
Yes, water is wet.
Why?
Why? Because it's a liquid, so.
Water is wet.
No, it's not wet. Final answer.
I think water is not wet.
No.
Yes.
I say yeah.
Water isn't wet.
Okay, I don't think water is wet.
Yeah. It's like the wettest thing ever.
No.
Why?
It's not wet. I don't know.
Water is not wet?
No.
Yes.
I feel like water's not wet.
Is water wet? Yes, I'd have to agree. Water is wet. Face dry. Face wet.
I don't agree. I think if you took a book underwater.